What's going on, you guys? And welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be discussing the fighters who have the most privilege in the UFC. Guys who get undeserving title shots, guys who get absolutely destroyed and then get an immediate title rematch. I think you guys know where I'm heading. I'm going to start with the first person, Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya right now might have the most privilege in the UFC. He might have the most privilege in all of the UFC probably of all time. The fact that he got 49-46 by Sean Strickland, and he's going to get a rematch against Sean Strickland, is absolutely ridiculous. He is undeserving of a rematch against Sean Strickland. He got destroyed. Listen, recently Aljamain Sterling was on his way to becoming the greatest bantamweight of all time, had a big-time win streak, right? And he's not going to be getting a rematch against Sean O'Malley. He just lost. I know he lost by KO, but he's not getting a rematch. You think that with what Aljamain Sterling did in the division, he will get a rematch, right? Nope. But look at Israel Adesanya. Since he's a little bit of a bigger name and he's popular with the fans, well, you know, some people really do not like him that much anymore, he's getting this immediate rematch. It is ridiculous. Dricus deserves it more than him at this very moment. Dricus beat Robert Whittaker. Destroyed Robert Whittaker, who was beating everybody underneath Izzy, right? Was beating everybody. He beat Jared Cannonier. He beat Darren Till at the time, who was up in the rankings, you know what I mean, after beating Kelvin Gastelum. He beat Marvin Vettori. He was pretty much beating everybody not named Israel Adesanya. And then Dricus goes in. And by the way, Robert was beating all these guys pretty handily. I just want to let you know. He was beating all these guys pretty convincingly. So, let's not take that away from Robert Whittaker. Then Dricus comes in, wins the first round of the fight, and then he stops him in the second round. I mean, it is unbelievable what he has done. I mean, this should be an easy title shot for Dricus du Plessis, but since he's not that big of a name, according to, I guess, Dana White, and obviously he's not like a huge name, but he should get the title shot over Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya, I've been seeing a bunch of people saying that Izzy should fight the winner of Paulo Costa and Khamzat Chimaev. I don't mind that whatsoever. I think that that's a great idea because Izzy doesn't deserve it at this very moment. That's why, to me, he has probably the most privilege in all of the UFC. Probably he has the most privilege of all time when it comes to the UFC. I think out of everybody that I just named, right, he has the most privilege, 100%. Because he got 49-46, completely dominated, and he's going to get a rematch. That is absolutely ridiculous. So Izzy is the first name on my list. Next person that's on my list is going to be Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's obvious. I mean, he is the biggest name in the sport, so there is a reason why he's going to have a lot of privilege. You know what I mean? But there's not really a whole lot of instances where he has the most privilege, but I mean, I just feel like if Conor gets like a big-time win, especially like, let's say he beats Michael Chandler, you don't think that they want to fast-track him to the title? You don't think that they want to have him go up against Islam Makhachev or whoever is the champion for the, you know, have him go up against them? Come on, bro. Conor McGregor will probably get a title shot. He will only have to fight maybe once or twice, and then he will get a title shot. I mean, it's ridiculous. He would have got a title shot if he beat Dustin in the trilogy. I bet you right now he would have got a title shot, 100%. They would have made Conor versus Islam at the end of that year. Come on, bro. It is written on the wall. Conor McGregor has the privilege because he is the biggest name in the sport. There hasn't been an instance where he has shown the privilege, but in a way it kind of has. I mean, he literally was gone from the sport for 2 years and then immediately got a title shot over Khabib versus Khabib, right? So that obviously shows a part of his privilege, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, there was plenty of guys in the division that were trying to, you know, fight for the title, and then Conor McGregor just comes back out of nowhere and gets a title shot. But it makes sense. He was the champion before he left, right? Before he boxed Floyd Mayweather. He was the champion. He was the 155-pound champion that he vacated because he was gone. He was boxing, doing his other things, and then he came back. But, I mean, that shows a little bit of privilege, you know, for Conor McGregor. It's not as bad to me as Izzy. I think Izzy has more privilege than Conor McGregor, and that's saying a lot. But I might be wrong depending if Conor gets the next title shot after he beats Michael Chandler. If he gets a title shot versus Islam after beating Michael Chandler, he has the most privilege, 100%. Because beating Michael Chandler doesn't warrant him to get a title shot whatsoever. He needs to fight, I think, one more guy, maybe a rematch against Dustin Poirier, or somebody in the top of the division, a Charles Oliveira, or a Justin Gaethje, or somebody like that to get a title shot. Right now, in my honest opinion, he doesn't deserve it whatsoever, even if he beats Michael Chandler. So that's why I have Conor McGregor on the list, because he does have the privilege. Let's just be honest. If he does win, he's going to probably get a title shot in the near future, right? The next guy that I have is Colby Covington. Colby Covington, yes, he has a little bit of privilege with the UFC. He does. Who has he fought in the last few years that warrants him a title shot against Leon Edwards? Tell me. Jorge Masvidal? Are you fucking kidding me? The washed Jorge Masvidal? There's no way. A washed Tyron Woodley? I mean, these are his last 2 wins. These are the last 2 wins that Colby Covington got in the welterweight division. And this happened in the span of 3 years. Has 2 wins in 3 years. Guys like Belal Muhammad he beat recently just Gilbert Burns. He has beaten Sean Brady. He's been pretty much shafted by the UFC because he's not a big name, and obviously he's a little boring. He's not a really entertaining guy. Let's just be honest, right? But he has done a lot more in the division compared to Colby Covington, and Colby Covington is going to be the one that's getting the next title shot against Leon Edwards. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. In my opinion, I think he has privilege. I mean, beating Jorge Masvidal, a washed Jorge Masvidal in 2022, does not warrant for you to get a title shot whatsoever. I am sorry. I don't care what anybody says. That is privilege right there. I mean, come on, bro. Beating Jorge Masvidal is not like that impressive to me, especially in 2022. Beating him in 2019, okay, I understand. I get it. Beating Jorge Masvidal after he has he was on a 2-fight skid and he got knocked out by Kamaru Usman, there's no reason why he should get a title shot whatsoever. It should be somebody else. Shit, bro, like, it doesn't make any sense. He should fight somebody. When was the last guy he fought somebody and beat somebody in the top 5 of the welterweight division? It's been since before 2020. I mean, it's ridiculous. He has, to me, some of the most privilege in the UFC, in my honest opinion. Colby Covington, for me, is up there as well. He might even have more than Conor McGregor, but we're not even going to have that conversation right now, okay? The next guy I have a list right here. Well, trust me. Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley has a little bit of privilege. Here's why. He's not going to be fighting Merab next. That is why. Because the UFC, if it's realistic, Merab should be the guy to get the title shot next. Let's just be honest. Merab has been dominant, and he is the number 1 or 2 guy in the division. It just makes sense for Merab, who hasn't fought pretty much the whole year, except for obviously beating Petr Yan. But he is, I think, number 2 in the division. It makes sense that he should get the title shot next. But he's going to be fighting the number 6 guy in Chito Vera, because he has the privilege. And obviously there is a story, yes, I understand. But what has Chito Vera done to deserve a title shot over Merab, over even Aljamain Sterling, even Corey Sandhagen, who beat him earlier this year? That is privilege right there if I've ever seen it. He beat Corey Sandhagen beat Chito Vera, right, in the beginning of the year. And then Chito beats Pedro Munoz, and then he gets a title shot over Corey Sandhagen. And Corey Sandhagen just literally got a victory recently. He's been on, I believe, a 3-fight or 4-fight win streak. I think it's a 3-fight win streak. And he just recently beat Rob Font. And he beat Marlon Vera on top of that, and he's not getting the title shot. But, I mean, Chito Vera low-key has some privilege too, if that's the case, because he's getting this title shot. But I'm saying Sean O'Malley, because Sean O'Malley is not immediately facing a guy like not Marlon Moraes, he's not facing Merab at this very moment. He should be facing Merab. It makes sense when it comes to the rankings. He should be facing either Corey Sandhagen, Aljamain Sterling, or Merab. It has to be one of those 3 guys, but no, he's fighting the number 6 guy in the division. He's not fighting the number 2 or the number 3 or the number whatever the fuck, you know what I mean, the number 1 guy in the division. He's not doing that. Sean O'Malley, has a little bit of privilege. Let's just be honest. They want to keep the title on Sean O'Malley as much as they possibly can, because obviously he's the biggest draw in the division. He's the biggest name in the division. They want to keep that title as much on him as much as they can, so they can just capitalize off of him. They want to be able to make some money with Sean O'Malley. You know what I mean? They don't want him to lose the title immediately after he just won it. They are putting so much stock into this man to the point where they put pretty much the knockout on YouTube, and they're giving him the number 6 guy in the division in Marlon Chito Vera. Let's just be honest. Marlon doesn't deserve shit. He doesn't deserve it whatsoever. I mean, come on, bro. That's ridiculous. So Sean O'Malley is here specifically for that reason. He has bias in the UFC. He has that privilege in the UFC. Let's just be honest. And the next guy I'm going to talk about, the final guy I'm going to talk about, is Brock Lesnar. I know it's an older guy, but the reason why I'm saying Brock Lesnar is because of this. It's 2 instances. When he made his UFC debut, he won his fight. He fought, I don't even know who the hell he fought. I forgot his name. Then he loses, right, to Frank Mir. He loses to Frank Mir. Then he wins his next fight, and then after he wins that fight, he gets a title shot. A 1-fight win streak gets you a title shot. Now, people are like, oh, what about Michael Chandler? Michael Chandler definitely does have a little bit, especially when he first was in the UFC. I mean, he beat Dan Hooker, and then he got a title shot. But, I mean, he was just at the right place at the right time type of situation. Brock Lesnar literally lost, and then he wins 1 fight, and that's it. Guess what? You're going to get the title shot next. And yes, did he win? Absolutely, he won. Congrats to Brock Lesnar. But that happens to nobody. At least with Michael Chandler, he won. He didn't lose and then win, and then he got a title shot. He won his fight, and then he got the title shot, which is really quick. I mean, that was the quickest title shot that I think anybody's ever gotten. I mean, it was 1 fight, and that was it. That's all he needed, right? And I believe, you know what's crazy? I think he was the backup. Michael Chandler, I believe, was the backup for the Justin Gaethje. We might have to add Michael Chandler. We might have to add Michael Chandler because he was the backup fighter for the title against Justin Gaethje and Khabib, if I'm not mistaken. He was the backup, which is crazy to me. That is absolutely insane. But that's besides the point. But Brock Lesnar lost a fight, then he just wins 1 fight and then gets a title shot. And not only that, let's fast track to 2018, I believe. After Daniel Cormier beats Stipe Miocic and becomes the double champ, Brock Lesnar comes into the cage, right? And pretty much challenges. It looks like the next fight after Daniel Cormier beats Stipe was going to be Brock Lesnar. What has Brock Lesnar done in those last few years? He lost. I mean, he had a no contest because he was cheating against Mark Hunt. And then all of a sudden he's already at the top. He goes into the cage with Daniel Cormier. Are you kidding me? After there's so many people in the heavyweight division who has been grinding to get a title shot. Brock Lesnar, who's been in the WWE, not doing anything else UFC related, MMA related, he comes into the cage and he was going to be the next guy. If they would have signed Brock Lesnar, he would have been the next guy to get the title shot. And he hasn't done anything like since that in years. Because that fight with Mark Hunt was considered no contest because he cheated. He got caught. But then he gets a title shot? Are you kidding me? Dude, he has the privilege. But obviously, he was one of the biggest names in the sport. He was one of the only guys that was getting 1 million pay-per-view buys in UFC, early on. So that's why he has that privilege. Usually the bigger names are the ones that are getting the privilege. They're getting that. People call it the Dana White privilege because what Tony Ferguson said. And that was a great line. They're getting that Dana White privilege, man. And Brock Lesnar was getting that privilege. If they would have, negotiated and possibly got a contract, you know what I mean, and he would have signed with the UFC, I bet your ass he would have definitely got the title shot immediately after he beat Stipe, after DC beat Stipe, 100%. And it was going to be one of the most undeserved title shots in the history of the sport. But the reason why is because there was so much build-up, because the post-fight, interview with Daniel Cormier, and then you obviously had Brock Lesnar come in there, and then he pushed Daniel Cormier, and then he had the iconic line or whatever, saying that the heavyweight division was a disaster and stuff like that. That was fantastic. That was great. But he was undeserving of that title shot. And especially his first title shot that he got in the UFC was undeserving too. He did not deserve that either. I mean, come on, bro. Let's stop it. Shout out to Brock Lesnar, but he has that Dana White privilege as well. And yeah, that is pretty much it. Those are all the people. I know there's more people as well. You can definitely name some other guys. Those are the top people, in my opinion, that have the most privilege in the UFC. So if you guys enjoyed, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I'll see you guys soon with another video. Peace out.